Are you being disrespectful of other people and not even realizing it? Something that I've noticed a lot that's very concerning lately is a lot of people seem to say things and do things that are disrespectful to the people around them. And we're talking about people that they're their peers, their friends, their family, things like that. And a lot of times I don't think that they actually even realize it. And I know definitely a lot of people don't actually realize what they're doing. And that's why I brought up today's topic for you. It's about showing respect and being more intentional and mindfulness about the things you say and the things that you do around those people. And many of these people are people you care about that you may not even realize. See, respect isn't just being polite. It's honoring their dignity. It's their time, their voice, all the things that they do. How are you honoring them as a human being, as a person, and showing them respect? Now, that doesn't mean you have to even agree with them. And what I want to do is I want to actually share an example. For me, as a speaker, I speak on stages, both virtual and in person, quite a bit. And one of the things that always, as a speaker, drives me nuts is when somebody comes in and they disagree with me and they take over the conversation. Now, here's the thing is that as a speaker, we only have so much time. And the idea is to make as much impact as we can in a short amount of time. And when somebody goes through and decides to take over the conversation, that takes away from our power as a speaker. Now, as a speaker, I've done pretty well over the years of learning how to kind of take that back when I need to. But I want you to stop and think about this from the other standpoint is that if you're that person doing that, are you disrespecting them? All right, because you are going through and you might be disagreeing with them. It could be there are books that I recommend for people. And I've had people that come up and say, well, if you want my opinion, I didn't think that book was all that great. Well, honestly, I didn't ask. But we think about this kind of stuff and it's like, what you're doing is you're pulling away from that person's expert status and their position that they earn the right to be at. And I've had people that I'll have something that I'll suggest that they do for their marketing. It might be email marketing, whatever, because that's what I do in my main business. And they're like, oh, well, that would never work for me. And it's like, that's fine. That's totally fine. You're 100% okay to have that opinion and that experience. However, the disagreement in a public standpoint and taking over is a sign of disrespect. And this happens a lot. And this happens not just like in my situation. And I've been on the flip side where I've been in the audience and I 100% disagree with what the speaker says. There's been times where they've actually done stuff that's technically illegal. And I still will keep my mouth shut. Now, I may have conversations one-on-one with people saying, yeah, I wouldn't suggest doing that because this is why. But I'm not going to call them out on stage for it. That's just rude. It's disrespectful. You have the same thing in situations and conversations with people, like just day-to-day conversations with family and friends. Are you somebody who interrupts a lot? Some people say, hey, that's just me. Well, it's something you can work on. It's something you should be working on, because the reality is by interrupting other people and cutting them off, the disrespect is the fact that you don't care about what they say, or you feel your voice is more important than their voice. And so you've got to learn how to control those things and think about those things. Think about your surroundings, the things that you say. Are you somebody who interrupts on a regular basis? Are you somebody that likes to publicly disagree with somebody and has caused some drama behind it? Because if you're doing that, you're disrespecting that other person. Now, there's a time and a place for debate. I 100% agree with that. But that's not always every single time. And one thing to think about with this is you need to stop and think about the warning signs of when you might be crossing the line from a disagreement to a disrespect. Number one is, do you need to voice your opinion every time? No matter what somebody says, you have to contradict them. Do you ever catch yourself doing that? I know a lot of people that do that. Are you interrupting consistently? I already covered that one. If you interrupt people a lot, that's a sign of disrespect. Or is your language dismissive? I've been in a room where people, the conversation, and there's that one person that You can hear the loud vocal huff. And these are the things that what that does is you don't have to agree with them. Just keep it to yourself. Let them talk. Let them do their thing. Because here's the thing with this is people don't necessarily have to expect everybody to agree with them. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. But what I do respect, or what I do require with people around me, is to respect me. They don't have to like me. They don't have to agree with me. But respect is a totally different game. And we should be respecting each other. Respect other people's time. If somebody, say, I'm going to go back to the speaker example. If somebody is up on stage, that's their time. Give them that time. They earned it. It doesn't matter if you think they're good or not. One way or another, they figured out a way to make that happen, and respect that time. If somebody else is talking, you might be in a group of friends. Somebody else is talking. Respect their time and their space to share whatever story they're doing. And if people ask you questions, know where your limits are to not only be respectful if you disagree with them, because again, disagreeing is not the problem here. It's the respect side of it, but also limit it. You don't need to take 10 minutes to tell something you could say in 5 words. Be careful about those kind of things. I've even had that where other people, and again, I'll go back to speaking example because I have lots of them, where I ask for questions. I want interactivity, and I generally do, but then somebody decides that they're just going to keep talking and talking and talking, and it's really hard to shut them up. And as a speaker, again, I'm limited on how much time I have on stage. So if I can't get through everything that I need to, that's not cool. Right. And on top of that, if you're asking for interaction and you're wanting to have a conversation, if you take over the entire conversation, nobody else gets to talk. Nobody else gets to ask their questions or have their voice heard. And that's disrespectful to all of those other people. So again, I'm using myself as a speaker as an example on this, but it's not just in that. It could be in a room of 3 friends. You might be sitting down having dinner. And you ever have that person who just spaces off and doesn't really participate anymore? Sometimes you might want to ask yourself, why? What else has happened that might be causing them to do that? Now, it could be because they have something personal going on in their head, something that's distracting them. But there are a lot of times where, for me personally, as an introvert, if I don't get a chance to talk because people keep dominating the conversation, I space off, and there's times where I'll just get up and leave, because I don't feel included. And we all need to be intentionally paying attention to this. We need to be mindful of these things. So set boundaries. Set boundaries for yourself when you're going to respond back. The first thing you want to do is stop and think about, hey, can I answer this, or can I ask this question in 30 seconds? Can I tell this story in 30 seconds? Not 3 minutes, 30 seconds. How can I respectfully disagree? Meaning, you know what? I don't think that that's going to work right for me, but here's something that has worked for me that's been really powerful. Now you're adding to the conversation instead of trying to discredit that other person. And again, I'm using speaking as an example, but this goes across the board for just about everything. So stop and think about these things, because I want you to stop and think about the ripple effect that is caused by respect on the good side and the bad side. So if you show respect to others, it builds trust in them, and it builds trust in them with you, both sides. They're going to trust you more because you showed them respect. The more you build that trust, you build that relationship, and you have respect for each other, you're going to communicate more effectively, and that leads to strong relationships. On the flip side, if you were disrespectful to somebody in any conversation, any situation, again, doesn't matter if you're disagreeing with them, it's that you're showing disrespect to them. They're going to become more defensive around you. The communication is going to break down, and those relationships are going to be damaged. There are times where I've literally cut people off because no matter what the conversation was, they were always discounting anything that I said. And I was like, I don't want to be around that. So what I want you to do is I want you to stop and think about this. This is how you can put this into practice. When you have a response to something somebody says, that especially in a situation where you disagree with them, stop and take 3 seconds to process this and start thinking about, number one, Is this how I would like to be treated? How do you actually listen to them and respond to them without being disrespectful of them? Listen to them more effectively. Maybe you can take a spin on it. Ask yourself, is this how I would like to be treated? And if I was treated this way and somebody cut me off while I was talking, would I be okay with it? Or would I feel like they didn't care about what I had to say? And there's a lot of ways that we can put this into modern day life. But I want you to stop and think about this today. How can you be respectful in your disagreements? Or even if you agree with somebody, how can you be respectful of that person by keeping what your response short enough that you're adding value to the conversation without taking over the conversation? Because reality is, a lot of times when people do, that's a confidence thing on their own side. That's a need to feel important. We don't need to feel that important. We are that important. You don't need to shove it down other people's throats, because all that does is disrespect that person. They lose respect for you. And quite honestly, a lot of the other people will too. So hopefully this was helpful for you today. I want you to stop and spend the next week actually being more mindful about this process. Think about those conversations. Think about how other people react to what you say. You go, am I dealing with this properly? Should I stop and pause for 3 seconds? Think about what I'm going to say before I actually say it, in order to be more mindful and more intentional about how I respond, in order to put in my 2 cents worth without being disrespectful of that person. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Get out there, have an amazing day. Of course, I've got this new program I'm working on. I'll get it recorded fairly soon. So I don't even have it done yet, but there's a waiting list for it. What I would like to do is, it is the Inner Edge. It's a 7 days to unshakable clarity. It helps you get clear about your intentions for the week, things that you're actually doing, how you can take control of your emotions and all the crazy stuff that's going on around you. This is an audio program, so it's really great. Think of it like a podcast. It's going to be short and sweet to the point, and I'd love for you to grab a copy of it. All you need to do is comment below the Inner Edge or Inner Edge. Type that in the comments, and I will make sure that as soon as it goes live, I will get you a copy of it. Thank you so much. Get out there. Have an amazing day. If there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out. Let me know. Take care.